Hi, hello, welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Julia, and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about art, books, and museums. And this is my favorite time of the year. This is a Nonfiction November time, and I'm so glad that Olive from A Book Olive YouTube channel conducted it once again, and unfortunately this is her last year. I hope starting from the next year she will continue at least give us this keywords that we can use for inspiration for Nonfiction November. In any ways, I am very thankful and grateful that A Book Olive came up with this idea 10 years ago to make a Nonfiction November challenge, and I think this way I found my community several years ago, and I finally decided to participate more in the booktube community as a creator, so that was a big inspiration for me. I understand why Olive might find herself in a place where she cannot continue to organize these events, and I totally understand that. I'm on her side, but I'm pretty sure that even next year I'm going to dedicate the month of November to the nonfiction books, just as part of this, heritage and legacy of a booktube and our little community. Before I reveal my TBR for Nonfiction November, I actually wanted to share with you some pretty big news for me. In the middle of November, I will be switching my jobs, and I actually moved to a museum. Before I work for archaeological project, and now I'm going to work in the museum. I'm not gonna tell you which one for security reason. I'm not sure I can share this information, but yes, I'm really excited about it, and this is probably my dream just came true, and I finally got a job in the museum. And that's also the reason why it will be a little bit challenging for me to combine my new position and books that I've planned to read. So I will do my best, but I cannot promise that I finish all of them, and I do hope I will be able to make a video and share my results of a Nonfiction November later this year. But yes, let's now move on to the keywords that Olive selected for us, because I tailored my TBR with accordance to those keywords. And so the first word that she announced was code. She already gave us inspiration on books that are related to science and technology, where coding is commonly used, but I decided that I don't want to read books on coding and technology, and I decided that for me code is part of code of conduct, and I picked the book that I purchased maybe a couple of months ago. It's called The Power of Nunchi by Euny. So this is the book. I would describe it as a self-help book. It's a book that teaches you a bit of a emotional intelligence, and this intelligence is based on the concept of Nunchi, which is a difficult word to translate from Korean, but this is the ability to basically read the room and act accordingly. And it's not just simply empathy. It's not about like supporting a person in any sense, but it's actually acting upon what you see and how people act. So there is a bit difference, and she actually describes where the difference is. I already started to read this book. I'm quite busy with finishing my current job and switching to a new one, so I decided to pick something like very light, and it's a very easy to read book. And she's actually using like very funny examples, like life examples, life lessons, how to act Nunchi way and non-Nunchi way, and I'm enjoying this so far. So this is my first read for Nonfiction November. For the word path in the Nonfiction November challenge, I decided I'm going to interpret this word as an adventure, as a history, and in my case, it's an Adventures in Stationery by James Ward. Unfortunately, that's a poor, I think, design decision of putting red letters on the blue background, so you can't actually see what's written there, but I can rest assure you that this is Adventures in Stationery by James Ward, and this is a journey through your pencil case. Basically, it's a collection of histories of things that you can find in your pencil case. I learned about this book actually in South Korea when we were, I think, on Jeju Island. We went to the coffee shop for breakfast, and there we found a coffee shop with different books, and there was this beautiful cover. Apparently it was a translated version of this book, so I decided, I promised myself myself that I will return to Germany and purchase myself this book. So I did exactly that, and now I'm going to read it. So this can also be considered for me as a souvenir from South Korea, because this is where I learned about this book, and I hope it will be very interesting. Because again, I'm a big lover of stationery. I do love buying it, and I love using it. I am a very conservative person. I cannot switch to tablets and smartphones only. I still use paper and pencil and pens. So yeah, this is for my second read for Nonfiction November. For the next challenge, Olive selected the word shot. For me personally, shot, especially because of, this current historical events and political events, shot is very much related to war. So I decided to dive into the book that I was meaning to read for a long time already. I'm going to read it in Russian because it's the original language of the book, but this is the work of the Nobel Prize winner Svetlana Alexievich from Belarus, and it is called The Unwomanly Phase of War, an Oral History of Women in World War II. So this is the collection of dialogues and some memoir moments of different women who in some way participated in this war. We all know that Belarus was the central front of Hitler Blitzkrieg. That was the first basically Republican Soviet Union that was attacked by Germany back then, and of course it was in a horrible condition, and a lot of people fled or had a horrible time there. A lot of people died. So I think Belarus, it can be said, was the biggest victim of that war. I think it's only fair to hear the voices, not just people, but specifically women who went through that horrible time and what they experienced. So yeah, this is a very serious read, I think, among all the books that I selected this month. So as you can see, I was trying to balance between difficult books and also fun books, and because I don't have a lot of time, I think to have just one more heavy, more serious book is actually better for my mental and physical health right now. So yes, this is going to be my short book for the Nonfiction November. And the last challenge is joined, and for this book I decided to select a book about embroidery. It's called Threads of Life, a History of the World Through the Eye of a Needle. Because when you make embroidery, you join the threads together in order to create something very, very beautiful. So the reason why I selected this book is that recently I started actually to make some embroidery. I learned about this wonderful Korean embroidery. I can actually show it to you. Oh, it's there. For example, you can see it here. It would be like a decoration for people who would work for government, like civil workers. So this would be like the mark for them. So yes, and I really wanted to do something like that. Of course, it is pretty impossible, but there is a special technique, Korean embroidery technique, but I'm not sure I will be able to ever create something like that. It's just too beautiful and too complicated, but I really wanted just to, dig deeper into that, just to give it a try. And of course, I also started to be interested in history of embroidery, because again, this is not particularly like Asian type of decoration. Of course, it is very common in Asian textile, but a lot of nations have some sort of embroidery, different styles, different meanings, different symbols, different icons. So I hope I will learn about it in this book. So I'm really excited about it, and that's what I'm going to read for my last challenge, Join. To be completely honest, this is already a quiet challenge for me to read 4 books. Recently I don't read much because of my job. I don't have a lot of time, but I actually buy a lot of books, and recently I purchased a couple of books that I would love to include in my Nonfiction November TBR, but I'm just not sure I will be able to cover all of this. I might give it a try. Maybe I will make something like a 24 hours readathon, just nonfiction books 24 hours straight, maybe. But I have extra 2 books that I might begin I might finish, but I cannot promise for sure. So the first one is a Cobalt Red, How the Blood of the Congo Powers Our Lives by Siddharth. I recently learned about this book on, I think it was a YouTube video on environmentalism or ecology, and I immediately wanted to read this book. I added to my, Amazon list, but luckily I found it in one of the independent local shops here in Cologne, so I gladly bought it there. And yes, and now it awaits my time and my attention, and I'm really excited about reading it. I didn't know how to include it also in one of those challenges of the Nonfiction November, so I decided it's going to be like my plan B in case I don't like those that I selected, or maybe if I have time. So this is gonna be like my next read. If not, I will just read them in December. And another one I found in an online bookshop that sells Russian books. Unfortunately, it doesn't have English translation, so this is the reason why I actually picked that in Russian. Original language is Italian, and it is called The Incredible Life of Fyodor Mikhailovich Dostoevsky. So this is the biography of Fyodor Dostoevsky by Power of Nuni. As I already mentioned, the original language of this book is Italian, but it was translated into Russian. So I'm really curious to know how the biography of this very famous, Russian classic is perceived in European world. So yes, I picked this book. I might give it a try if I have time. I'm really curious about learn more about Dostoevsky. The only nonfiction thing that I read about Dostoevsky was the memoirs of his second wife, his last wife. That was actually quite interesting, but it was again more of her perspective and not like in-depth biography of Dostoevsky, which is quite fair. I can't tell you yet if it's worth translating into other languages, like English for example, but I will let you know if I ever read this book. I will let you know what I think, what I truly think about this book, and whether it's worth it to search for a translation or search for a translator. So yeah, these are the books that I'm going to read this month. But please let me know what you're reading if you participate in the Nonfiction November, and even if not, just let me know what you're reading this month. Maybe you stumble upon an interesting book. Thank you very much again for your attention, and I will see you in the next one very, very soon. Hopefully. Bye.